Father, we ask that you hasten the footsteps of those who are on the way. And Lord, in your hands, we place this seminar. Guide and direct. Be with us now, Father, as we ask these mercies through Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I would take the opportunity now that our head table is fully assembled to introduce them. From my left, the Karen McDonald-Gale. She's the project manager, specialist, environmental program for the United States aid program. And then we have, Mark Nola. He's the chief of party in the Ridge to Reef watershed project. And then we have His Worship the Mayor, Mr. Noel Donaldson, and last but not least, Mr. Don Street, the chairman for the Great River Watershed Management Committee.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. The management and solution of solid waste management issues has been one of the areas of focus of our USAID environmental program for some time. Through our environmental audits for sustainable tourism, or EAST project, we have been assisting tourism interests, hotels, attractions on environmental best practices, especially waste reduction and recycling. And through the Coastal Water Quality Improvement Project, or CWIP, we have also been doing work on improving solid waste in targeted areas. I want to recognize Mr. Street and the Great River Watershed Management Committee for their outstanding contribution to the management of the Great River Watershed. I do also want to recognize the Marine Park and especially Heather. Their work with the now famous Action Boys has been a box office hit, and I know that everyone from the Great River area now knows that way dash way, wash way. Finally, I want to reflect a little bit on today's theme. As the Ridge to Reef Watershed project comes to a close next July, one of our first challenges will be to forge similar partnerships to ensure that the continued success of the Great River Watershed Management Committee and the Marine Park are in place. These partnerships need to be innovative and creative, more than just an exchange of funds, but a sharing of expertise, time, and equipment. You have my personal commitment that I will assist in any way I can. Good luck in your deliberations today, and I urge you to focus on the way forward through concrete actions and next steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deere, Honorable Mayor, Mr. Don Street, Karen McDonald-Gale, distinguished guests. I'm very, very pleased to be here today. Ridge to Reef is a project which is very fortunate to have the financial support of the United States Agency for International Development and the National Environment and Planning Agency. Montego Bay Marine Park is very much an effort that was spawned through the efforts of the USAID. The theme of Earth Day as a whole is to think globally and act locally. And that is in essence what Ridge to Reef is about. What happens upstream does indeed affect what happens downstream. When you throw your garbage in the gully, it doesn't disappear when the rain comes. Acting locally is all about taking actions into our own hands. The Great River Watershed Management Committee has been involved in a number of efforts, including public awareness activities, income generation projects, water and sanitation initiatives, and most importantly, efforts to foster stewardship and pride. I wish you an excellent seminar. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Happy Earth Day. Years ago, the NWC, in conjunction with CWIP, another USAID project, and I see Scott McCormick and Louis Daly here, showed us or helped us to show the way of participating together, working together to achieve goals, which would cut costs but affect the work that we need to do. Tying to that, we have come into the Great River Watershed and the Rio Grande Watershed to form also another partnership with USAID. As the chairperson stated, we, the NWC, is highly dependent on the Great River. We realize that the importance of making interventions along the Great River for those improvements. The most significant thing as it relates to solid waste was the Action Boys that was done and it's now being presented island-wide, showing the importance of, as Karen said, what you throw away, don't wash away. Thank you, and I hope we have 2 good days of good sharing and coming out with a positive way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. It is certainly a pleasure for me to be here, to be associated with this seminar, primarily because as a Montegonian, as a Jamaican, I recognize, as I believe we all do, that we face a very critical problem as it relates to the proper disposal of our solid waste. Just yesterday, we had a very heavy shower of rain, and I drove onto the bridge, St. James's Street, where the North Gully is, and I stopped and I looked over. And it was heart-rending to see the amount of garbage that was being washed out into our marine park. The issue of solid waste disposal is one that has occupied our minds for a long period of time. And for varying reasons, many of them having to do with economics, some of it having to do with just the way our citizens have been culturalized. In many respects, what we find is that our habits and practices are not in keeping with what is really in our own best interest as a people. I wish to commend the Ridge to Reef Watershed Project, the Montego Bay Marine Park, the Environmental Foundation of Jamaica, and indeed USAID for its continued support for what it is that we here are trying to achieve. Therefore, with great pleasure, that I, at this point in time, as Mayor of Montego Bay, declare this seminar open. Best wishes.
At the National Environment and Planning Agency, I'm responsible for monitoring and assessment, and I tend to concentrate mainly on water quality, not so much into the direct solid waste, but unfortunately you do have a situation where you need some medium to move the waste along, and that's water, and that's where water quality comes in. So what this is saying to us in terms of our marine waters is that the coastal waters of Montego Bay are slightly above what one would want, and it's a reflection of the influence of all the land-based activities influencing the water quality in the area.
The impacts that the town has on the marine environment of the area. The impacts of a bustling, developing urban economy on the marine environment. As I said before, the marine park is a protected area, as designated in 1992. It just means that it's protected areas for the management of the marine resources within that area, corals, beaches, fish, squid, things like that. What does Montego Bay sell? Clean water, nice beaches, nice sunshine, nice air, all these kinds of things, which are all affected by the presence of the town. Now, we're managed locally, the marine park's managed locally. The park was started by the government of Jamaica in 1992, and we do the management of this area mainly through education, but also through enforcement and paying attention to what the stakeholders are doing, anchor use, fishing, things like that. And all of this is basically informed and driven through proper science